Welcome to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Today, we're going to be looking at October and how important it is for cybersecurity. So stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Ryan Lippe is a consumer educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost office, and he's going to be talking about what's happening this coming October. Ryan, it's always a pleasure talking with you.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on, continuing throughout the year. And October is important, not because it's Halloween, except, in my alma mater at Ohio University, I guess it is really a dedicated holiday. But October is also Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And so it's when the world, and it is international, we're in a global atmosphere. It's where all around the world we learn simple and practical steps to increase our security online, whether you're using a smartphone, a tablet, a notebook computer, any internet connected devices. And these days, an internet connected device could be the washing machine, it could be a Ring doorbell, it can be just about anything. But what we've done in honor of Cybersecurity Awareness Month is we put together 7 simple tips to be more secure in cyberspace. So we're going to tackle them one by one, and Patrick and I are going to take a look at the best ways, 7 ways to easily be more in tune with the best practices regarding security and privacy of your online information and your behavior in cyberspace. So tip number 1 is to activate multi-factor authentication. Now that might sound like a mouthful, but multi-factor authentication is already available on many of your online accounts, your apps, your programs. You just might be needing to activate it or enable it. So the MFA, multi-factor authentication, means that in addition to reciting your password, which you always have to do, they also want you to respond to a code sent to your mobile device. That's typically the multi-factor authentication that's used primarily. Now, you could also use a thumbprint or a retina scan, something like that. But ordinarily these days, what they're doing is they're sending codes to your mobile device. So knowing your password isn't enough. They want you to verify that you are who you say you are by reciting a password. Usually it's between 4 and 8 characters. And it'll be sent to your text message or to your email or even calling you over the phone so that you will be able to recite that before you are able to get online to the app or the program or the account that you're trying to get into. Now, you might say that's an obstacle. Well, sure, it's an obstacle. It's an obstacle to hackers and scammers. You have no problem having your cell phone handy, but a scammer has no problem trying to guess your password. So because multi-factor authentication is such a good way to prevent breaches, we recommend it for any devices and accounts that you may enroll in that offers multi-factor authentication. Wherever available, use it.
You know, Ryan, here at the Ohio State University, we have a dual security system where we get into sensitive areas, even our email, or if we do anything with Ohio State University, we automatically have to put in that information, which is sent to our iPhone for approval. And at first, I thought it was going to be really complicated, but I found that it's really very easy, and I recommend it to everyone to use that double verification.
Yeah, it's sort of like having, an extra padlock on your information. So where available, use it. When you need to enable it, enable it. Ask questions to if you have a bunch of accounts like financial accounts, banking accounts, stocks, accounts, things like that. Ask them all whether multi-factor authentication is available for your protection. Step number 2, this is the easiest step, is to enable automatic updates. How easy is that? You should ensure that your online devices have the latest updates, but if you don't want to check it on a regular basis, if your computer asks you if you want to enable automatic updates for your operating system, your internet browser, and your antivirus programs, say yes to all those, because that can save you from having to remember to regularly check for updates. And updates are very, very important because they can address bugs and security flaws that your operating system, your internet browser, your antivirus program have identified. So you want those latest updates and you want them right away.
You know, at Ohio State University, or if you're at some organization, oftentimes the IT department automatically does that. We feel that sometimes when we get to our private computer, we don't necessarily feel the need to update it.
No, just remember, you've got a whole IT team at big organizations. You don't have a big IT team at home. So number 1 is you might want to convert your practices at home to be more like the practices they recommend at work. So you can't forget all those privacy and security tips when you leave the office. Apply all those mostly at home as well to keep yourself secure and make sure you have a private environment.
That's good advice.
The third simple step to be more secure in cyberspace is to use a password manager and to regularly change your passwords. Now, that is really frustrating to a lot of people that like to use the same password over and over again for all their accounts to make their lives simpler. But when you make your life simple, in this case, you are making it a lot easier for a fraudster, a scammer, a hacker to be able to invite themselves into just about every avenue of your personal and financial life, because so much of what we do is online. So if you want to save yourself from having to think up and remember tons of passwords, because we all have lots of accounts and we all want unique passwords for each account, because if you get hacked in one account, you don't want to make it very easy for them to hack the rest of your accounts. Use a password manager. That password manager, you want to make sure it's secure. You want to make sure it's reputable. You can check with IT professionals. You can check with experts online. You can even check with friends and family and see what password manager they might recommend. It may cost you a little bit, monthly charge, annual charge, but your password manager can be your best friend, because then you only need to know the master password. And make sure it's long and make sure it's hard for a hacker to get into. But after that, all your other passwords will come naturally through the password manager's activities. So it's a really, really good way to be able to take control over your passwords and get strong, unique passwords for all of your accounts and to change them on a regular basis. So my advice is, if you're sick and tired of people like us talking about the need to have long, complex, unique passwords, get that password manager and let it work for you.
I think that I'm just a normal user of the computer system and the software, but I keep separate from the computer a listing of all my passwords, and I've come to 32.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's a lot of passwords to remember.
Absolutely. And it's a lot to keep in a secure location, and it's a lot to be vulnerable with. So make sure you use a password manager. And again, find one that's reputable, that's right for you, that's recommended. The fourth simple step to be more secure in cyberspace is to use secure Wi-Fi. And by that, I mean, do not use free public Wi-Fi to perform any tasks that require a password or any other personal identifying information, like online banking, purchasing products and services, conducting financial transactions. Don't do it at the coffee shop. Don't do it at the hotel. Don't do it at the airport or your favorite mall. Save all that activity for when you're behind a secure network, hopefully at home or at the office is where you'll have probably have more secure networks than trying to risk it at a free public Wi-Fi hotspot or location near you. Even if it's a trusted location like a library or school, be very skeptical about the level of security they may have on their system. Save all the information, the personal identifying information, financial information, things like that. Save all of that for when you're at home or when you're behind a secure environment.
I think it's also important to recognize when we're talking about computers, iPhones are computers.
And they're very strong computers, actually.
Yes,
so
very much so. And so consequently, if we have an open range to the different Wi-Fis, we have to be very, very careful. If you get out of network, you may not have the security that you think you have.
Yeah, I mean, think of it this way. You are at home behind a firewall. You're at work behind a firewall. You're on your smartphone with your cell signal. All those options are better than free public Wi-Fi at the mall or at the train station or at your favorite coffee shop. That's not to disparage these wonderful locations, but just check sports scores, do things anonymously, check the news, do things that are very, very innocent and anonymous through those free public Wi-Fi hotspots. Don't do anything you wouldn't want strangers to discover.
I think that's very good advice too.
Now, also, my my other part of tip number 4 is to make sure that the websites you go to, whether it is for putting in credit card information, putting in a social security number, if you're putting in personal identifying information, make sure that it is a secure website. So you want to make sure that it's HTTPS in the address bar. No matter whether you've typed it in or not, every internet address almost starts with HTTP. But the S at the end is your clue that it's probably a secure website. The S stands for secure. So also, depending on your browser, the address bar may turn green, the address bar may show a padlock, but learn your telltale signs that you're at a secure website and don't put in any personal or financial information into websites that are not secure all the way through.
I think those are very important parts when you're looking at that HTTPS, because many times it becomes invisible to us. And
Right.
so sometimes we have to sort of force ourselves to watch what we're doing.
Absolutely. And if it's a new website, if you've just discovered the website, if you get any messages that the security is lax, be all the more skeptical. Just be very sure that you're only putting in personal information or financial information into secure websites. Step number 5 of my 7 steps to be more secure in cyberspace. Use firewalls and antivirus software on all your devices. Now, your wireless router at home essentially should act as a basic firewall, so that's good. And it'll help keep potential hackers out of your home Wi-Fi network. But ensure that all your devices have antivirus software that's installed and up to date. And according to the National Cybersecurity Alliance, the most up-to-date security softwares, web browsers, and operating system are the best defense against online threats such as viruses and malware. That's a quote from the National Cybersecurity Alliance. So we try to apply those tips to what we do here in the state of Ohio. And so make sure that you're behind a firewall, which most everybody is if they have a router. It's usually a firewall is usually included, but use that antivirus software and make sure that it's up to date.
I would also, since we are so close to Canada or Mexico, to also double check the security issues that you have if you're using an out of country Wi-Fi.
Sure, absolutely. Number 6, be alert to phishing attempts. And I don't mean fishing in Lake Erie or in the Ohio River. No, I'm talking about phishing with a PH, which is phishing for your personal information. And so statistics and reports cited by the NCA, the National Cybersecurity Alliance, show that 80% of cybersecurity incidents are based on cyber criminals phishing for your personal information. So what phishing is all about is trying to impostor a bank, or trying to impostor a credit card company, or even impostering a company like Amazon or Norton Antivirus to try to get you to click on a malicious link that leads to a phony website requesting your personal information. And the hackers, the scammers will make the website look official. They'll make the email to you look official. They'll make the text message to us on our phones look official. And they will do whatever it takes to get you to click on that link and put in all your personal information. Don't be fooled. If anybody tells you your account's been compromised or that something detrimental has happened and that you have to supply personal information or financial information, be very skeptical and make sure they're legitimate. And if it means deleting the email and calling up your local bank branch or the toll-free number on the back of your credit card, that's what you need to do. Talk to the official sources, not folks that might be imposters. And it's more important every day as scammers perfect their tools that we are skeptical and make sure that we verify the legitimacy of each and every contact we make that's asking for our personal information or our financial information.
And I think it's very important, as you have covered many times, robocalls are big phishing attempts, or can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And robotexts as well. And as you might know, Attorney General Dave Yost, back in March of 2020, created our robocall enforcement unit. And he wants to make Ohio one of the toughest states, the toughest state for robocallers to operate in. So we're doing a lot of work for Ohioans in terms of trying to get to the culprits of robocalls and robotexts. Just an aside, step number 7, and the final step to be safe and secure with your cybersecurity life is to back up your data. That is your step that you're taking because no one is 100% sure. You can't even with home Wi-Fi, even if you do everything right, it's not always going to be 100% effective. So families and individuals should be sure to back up your data. And the more important that your electronic photos, your documents, your other data are to you, the more important it is to back it up using software connected to the cloud and or storing backup copies on hardware like a USB drive or an external hard drive. That is so if you get ransomware or any other kind of malicious virus, but especially ransomware, that you're not stuck in a situation where you're going to lose all of your photos and all of your other data if you don't pay a ransom. And so this has even affected small and large governmental organizations throughout the country and world as well. They are sometimes infected with ransomware and have to figure out whether they, as a governmental entity, should pay the ransom or whether they've backed up their information sufficiently and have access to that so they can sort of start fresh, but with a fairly updated set of data. So it's really important to back up your data.
I recently purchased a 2 terabyte hard drive to back up my computer system. I was a little bit afraid because in past, sometimes backups didn't work, but this worked like a dream.
Absolutely.
And it's well worth the time and effort in doing that.
Well, and the cost is fairly minimal. You'd be
Yeah,
surprised.
under
at,
$60.
yeah, you'd be surprised at how simple it is to buy the hardware that it takes to put all of your information in a backup and to make sure that you're secure and back up as often as you need to. But I wanted to thank you for having us on to talk about Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is October, but obviously we need to make sure that we are cyber secure throughout the entire year. So no matter when you're viewing this video, those are 7 steps that you can take to be more cyber secure. And for more information about the National Cybersecurity Alliance, where we got a lot of these information and tips from, visit its website at www.staysafeonline.org. That's www.staysafeonline.org. Or, of course, the Ohio Attorney General's Office, our website for the Consumer Protection section is www.ohioprotects.org. That's www.ohioprotects.org. So those are really great resources, one from the National Cybersecurity Alliance, one from the Ohio Attorney General's Office. Also, you can certainly fetch out our CHIP guide, the cybersecurity guide that we have online that can be put lot more tips right in front of you. If you just go to www.ohioprotects.org and look for that cybersecurity, what we call the CHIP guide. The CHIP guide is even more information that you have at your fingertips for a really good bounty of information to stay cyber safe.
Ryan, do you ever think that we'll be completely cyber safe?
I never think we're going to be completely cyber safe because there are always scammers. There are always fraudsters. There are always hackers that try to stay a step ahead of the game. And no matter how much I want to believe that most people are well-meaning and nice and honest and ethical, there's always going to be a few bad apples. It's almost like asking whether we're ever going to have to root out fake charities. Well, most of the charities are going to be well-meaning and well-serving charities, but there's always going to be a few bad apples. So I don't see an environment anytime in my lifetime, at least, where we'll be 100% free of having to apply some common sense and some really easy cybersecurity tips like the 7 we've mentioned today.
Let's suppose that I got hit by something. So what would be my next step?
The best step is to take your machine, run your antivirus through the machine. If you're having trouble, if your computer's locked up, I would shut it down, disassociate any connection with the internet, and simply take it to someone, a professional, an IT appliance store, a professional in town, someone that knows about information technology at work. Take advantage of whatever resources you have in your local community to be able to resolve your issues and get you back up and running. And hopefully you have all your information, or at least most of your data, backed up. So if you do need to get a new device, you're not starting fresh. You've got a lot of information, a lot of data that you can load on to your new unit, your new device.
Now, the security systems that we have for our computers, are they also comparable to our iPhones?
The fact is that our small smartphones are more powerful probably than any computers I grew up using. So it's important to treat them like some of the most powerful cyber devices we have in our lives, because they probably are. You need to make sure you take all your precautions with your smartphones, whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone or a Windows phone. You need to take all the precautions you can to keep you and your data safe.
Ryan, we only have 2 minutes left, and I wanted to reserve some time. Suppose that I have a group and I want you to make a presentation. What do I do?
Wonderful. You can go on our website at www.ohioprotects.org to request a presentation, or you can certainly go to our help center at 800-282-0515. Everything's completely free. All the services we provide are free. All we need are 20 attendees if you're going to be giving an in-person presentation from us. And there is no minimum if you're doing a virtual presentation, but we do have both options available. And we can talk to your group about cybersecurity. We can talk about identity theft, consumer scams, and knowing your consumer rights. Those are our major topics that we talk about day in and day out throughout communities in Ohio, because education is the #1 way to combat fraud and scams and cyber theft. It's really a matter of the tips we mentioned today, along with educating ourselves about best practices and implementing best practices to computing at home and at the office.
Ryan, I always look forward to your show. You have a lot of great information that helps us keep safe. We're talking with Ryan Lippe. He's a consumer educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General's Office, Dave Yost. Ryan, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate it. Stay safe and be well.